السلام عليكم.
السلام عليكم.
وكم مولاي العزيز، رمضان كريم.
حياكم الله.
رمضان كريم عليكم. السلام عليكم اخوان، رمضان كريم ان شاء الله.
الله وبركاته، حياكم الله. كيف حالكم شيخ خالد؟
والله الحمد لله بخير ونعمة. شلونكم اخوي؟
الله يسلمكم، الحمد لله. شلون الجو عندكم؟
شلونك عزيزي؟ زيارة مقبولة، نسألكم الزيارة والدعاء شيخنا.
دعاءكم احوج ان شاء الله، ما نقصر وياكم بالدعاء مولانا.
رحم الله والديك شيخنا، رحم الله والديك. رمضان كريم.
شيخ خالد
لا مولاي.
بعدكم كربلاء؟
لا اخوي، لا اليوم بالنجف.
بالنجف. خير وبركة ان شاء الله.
السلام عليكم.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله
وبركاته.
يلا ابو خالد.
هلا ابوي، شلونكم؟
الله
الحمد لله.
يسلمك.
شلونك؟ الحمد لله. الشيخ شنو اخبارك بالنجف؟
الحمد لله الحمد لله، مكانه خالي.
نعم فضيلة، نسألكم الدعاء بابا.
وهذا تحصيل حاصل ما يحتاج توصية
ان شاء الله. الله يخليك، الله يخليك.
شلون امس الحضور والقبول ابو استاذ جعفر؟
وسط.
يعني ايش قد؟
ما ادري بالنسبة لليوتيوب ما شيكت، بس هسه انا جاي خليني ارسل هسه بثنا. احنا نبلش هسه على اليوتيوب، خليني
يلا
ادز. إيه، شلون وضعية رمضان ان شاء الله بالعراق؟
والله الحمد لله، على اساس اكو حضرة جوال بس ما حد ملتزم.
في كل العراق ولا بالنجف؟
لا في كل العراق، بس هو الوادم ملت ما حد يلتزم.
ايه
الوادم هناك اغلبيتها كسبه، يعني ما يطلع ما يعيش.
اي طبعا صحيح.
صحيح، بس يعني الارقام تخوف عندكم بالعراق.
مرتفع.
والله قاعد ندرب، والله ما نعرف، لا نعرف ارقام ولا نعرف، ما ادري شلون. الناس عايشه وتطلع، وحتى اللي يتمرض انفلونزا ويرجع للبيت.
لا ارقام كلش قويه، الظاهر ما يحتاج الى
هو ما حد
مساعده.
بيهتم مولانا. ذاك اليوم احد الاخوان في بغداد قلنا له هسه انت اقعد بالبيت، يعني ما يصير اقعد بالبيت خوفا على الجهال. فجاوبني قال لي شيخنا هو احنا ميتين بالحالتين، اذا انت ما تطلع فهذول يموتون من الجوع، على الاقل اطلع اجيب هالمقسوم، واذا اموت بالكورونا شو اسوي بعد؟ مولانا يعني ما اكو اي فورم اوف ويلفير موجود هناك، يعني هذا اللي كاسب شو يسوي؟ اللي ما عنده وظيفه شو يسوي؟
اي بس يعني مو هاي الحاله يعني.
يا حاله
على الاقل يلتزمون بالاهتمامات
صادق، يا حاله هو ميت.
لا.
هو ميت بالحالتين، ميت يا يموت من الجوع يا يموت من الكورونا. يقول لك اطلع انا بلكة الله ما تصيبني الكورونا. بس هذا الجاهل مني يطفر من الجوع شو اسوي له؟
يا الله، الله ارحم الراحمين ان شاء الله.
من رب الله وسلم.
اي والله، الله ارحم الراحمين. ان شاء الله راح نخلي ميوت للجميع ونبلش ان شاء الله
بعونه تعالى.
تقدر تفتح المايك مرة ثانية شيخ.
يا الله السلام
بسم الله
عليكم.
الرحمن الرحيم، الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى اللهم على محمد وآل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. جمعية الكوثر الإسلامية تحييكم وترحب بكم، شبابنا، بناتنا، أولادنا الأعزاء. إن شاء الله راح نبتدي مع المحاضرة سماحة الشيخ خالد من النجف الأشرف. إن شاء الله اللي عنده سؤال يقدر يسأل، يقدر يكتب، يقدر يحاور. إن شاء الله بعد ما يخلص نفتح المايك للجميع. نحب يصير نقاش مع سماحة الشيخ. You can ask him, he answer, discuss. This is the most important, not just listen and go. إن شاء الله سماحة الشيخ حييك وتفضل.
الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، وأفضل الصلاة وتم التسليم على نبينا محمد الصادق الأمين وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. In the name of God, the merciful, the beneficent, all prayer and praise is due to the Prophet Muhammad and his holy household. Continuing with our concept of understanding the lecture of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi. Not that we can understand the whole lecture or we can understand everything behind it. However, what we can try to do is we can try to comprehend that which is simple for us enough to comprehend. And we can try to break it down, and we can try to gain as much benefit as we can through the blessing of Allah and the Ahlul Bayt. We said the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi said, وَمَنْ وَصَلَ فِيهِ رَحِمَهُ وَصَلَهُ اللَّهُ بِرَحْمَتِهِ يوم القيامة وَمَنْ قَطَعَ فِيهِ رَحِمَهُ قَطَعَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُ رَحْمَتَهُ يَوْمَ يَلْقَاهُ. And whomever reaches their next of kin or their nearest of kin, Allah shall reach them with his mercy on the day of judgment. And whomever severs the bond or the ties with their nearest of kin, Allah shall sever his mercy from this individual on the day when he is met, on the day when you meet him. Now, yesterday we kind of touched up on the basis of that. We said we need to understand here what is rahim. And we said rahim, your nearest of kin, starts from your family and those that are related to you, those who are related to you, such as your cousins, your nephews, your nieces, your aunts, your uncles, and so on and so forth. Your family is a lot simpler to understand. That's your parents, your sisters, and your brothers, and their children, nieces and nephews. Now, of course, your wife and your kids, or your husband and your kids. Now, the Prophet here says, and whomever stays in communication with their next of kin or with their nearest of kin. We said yesterday that your nearest of kin could be general or specific. So your kin could be your brother and your sister, or if you are say that you're sitting in a tribal scene, then your nearest of kin obviously would be those that you have direct blood ties with. If you're sitting in a more general scene, who comes after that is your cousins and your nephews and your second cousins and so on and so forth. Now, the concept of associating, reaching them, and the concept of disassociating with them and reaching them. We said that there are multiple narrations about this and multiple verses about this. One of those verses is fi Surah An-Nisa, verse 36. Allah says, وَاعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا, and worship Allah and associate none other than Him. وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا وَبِذِي الْقُرْبَى, and be dutiful unto your parents and your nearest of kin. So here there is specific, Allah specifies and generalizes that concept. In another verse, Surah Al-Ra'd, verse 25, Allah says, وَالَّذِينَ يَنْقُضُونَ عَهْدَ اللَّهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مِيثَاقِهِ. And those who break the covenant that they have made with Allah after they have confirmed it, after its confirmation. وَيَقْطَعُونَ مَا أَمَرَ اللَّهُ بِهِ أَن يُوصَلَ. And they sever those bonds that Allah, or they sever that what Allah has commanded to be joined. وَيُفْسِدُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ أُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمُ اللَّعْنَةُ وَلَهُمْ سُوءُ الدَّارِ. And they cause mischief on earth. It is they who receive damnation from their Lord, and they shall have a curse upon their Lord, and there shall be, or they shall have an evil abode, or they shall have an evil residency in the hereafter, an evil turnout. And in another verse, Allah says in chapter 2, verse 27, الذين ينقضون عهد الله من بعد ميثاقه ويقطعون ما أمر الله به أن يوصل ويفسدون في الأرض أولئك هم الخاسرون. And those who repute or sever the covenant that they have made with Allah after its confirmation, and they sever that what Allah has amred to be joined, and they cause mischief on earth, they are indeed the ones who have lost. They are the losers in all actuality. Now we see here, the first thing here that Allah says, يَنْقُضُونَ عَهْدَ اللَّهِ. These individuals break the covenant of Allah, the covenant that they have made with Allah. وَيَقْطَعُونَ مَا أَمَرَ اللَّهُ بِهِ أَن يُوصَلَ. And the commands that Allah has commanded you to fulfill and to join. So there are certain commandments that Allah has required of you to join. These individuals are mischievous. Not only do they sever the covenant they have with Allah, not only do they refuse to follow Allah's command and join whatever Allah has commanded for it to be joined, rather they cause mischief on earth. أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْخَاسِرُونَ. It is they who are the ones that are the losers. Now, why is it that the Almighty, Jalla Jalaluhu Azza Sha'nuh, my apologies, say وَيُفْسِدُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ? This wow, this ataf, Allah says that these individuals who break the covenant and they sever the ties, they sever the bonds that Allah has commanded for them to be joined. Of course, the bonds here refers mainly to the bonds of the family and the nearest of kin, amongst the others. It is they who cause mischief on earth. The Quran here is trying to explain something to us, that by taking on these actions, by severing the ties with your nearest of kin, what you are causing is mischief on earth. You are causing oppression on earth. All of these things are considered fasad. Fasad means to be mischievous, to do something that is wrong, something that should not be done. In the narration, Al-Imam Sadiq salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, he narrates, or the gist of the narration is that a man from Khath'am, from the family of Khath'am, came to the Prophet Muhammad salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi wa alih, and he said to the Prophet, Ya Rasulullah, akhbirni ma afdal al-Islam. Inform me what is the best of Islam. The Prophet says, al-imanu billah, faith in Allah. Then this man asks the Prophet, and then what else? So sure, the faith of Allah, that's clear, we understand that. What comes after the faith of Allah, or faith in Allah? The Prophet says, silatul rahm. Silatul rahm means what? Meaning that you reach your nearest of kin, that you stay in connection with your nearest of kin. Now, if we want to, we can have multiple lectures about this. But what we'll do is we'll skim over it really quickly, or we'll end it with this lecture, inshallah, if Allah wills and time provides. If we want to specify, we see that the Quran focuses mainly upon the concept of parentship and parenthood. We see that the Quran in multiple occasions, the Quran speaks about your parents over and over and over again. Not only that, we find that the Quran specified when it comes to the concept of parents is that the Quran places that duty, the duty of being good to your parents directly after being faithful to Allah. Give me 1 second here, my sincerest apology. It didn't come up, unfortunately. I could not bring up the point that I wanted. Nonetheless, the Quran, what does the Quran say? And we have decreed that none shall worship, the gist of the narration, that you shall worship none other than Allah. وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَنْ لَا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Now, we need to look at this, brothers and sisters, the importance of this, that Allah has decreed. This is a decree from Allah. What is a decree? It is a law that is made by Allah. It is a law that Allah has established. Number one, أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ, that you worship none other than Allah. So absolute monotheology, absolute worship to Allah. Then, وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. This waw is called waw al-atf. This waw is what means that just like Allah has decreed that you shall not worship another God, according to that decree, He has also decreed on the same level that you be dutiful unto your parents. And we find this in the stories that are told about parents in the Quran. We find Ibrahim, he tells his uncle Azar, the man who brought him up, the man who raised him. Well, in the discussion, when Ibrahim says to him, why do you worship these false idols? Brothers and sisters, pay attention to this, focus to this. Because a lot of us today, we think we know better than our parents. We think, oh, you know what? My father came from a different country and I was born and raised in a different country. He did not go through what I went through. He does not understand what I understood. You might get those tendencies, those thoughts in your head. However, that does not give you the right, even if it's true, and I'm not saying it is, even if it's true, it does not give you the right to be disobedient. It does not give you the right to be hurtful to your parents. What do we say? We see in the Quran, Ibrahim is a prophet of Allah. Not only that, one of the grand prophets of Allah, one of the Anbiya ulil Azm, one of the greatest prophets. He is known as Khalilullah. He is known as the beloved one to Allah. He looks at his father, and his father worships idols. There could be no greater crime committed than to worship other than Allah. We see this in Surah Luqman. Luqman says to his son, "Oh, my son, do not worship, do not associate anything other than Allah, for it is a grand oppression. It is a great mischief." Ibrahim sees his uncle, the man who raised him throughout his life, doing this. What does Ibrahim say to him? He questions him. He says, my father, my Baba, basically, Ya Abba, or my daddy, why is it that you worship something that benefits you not, nor can it harm you? We see his uncle comes back with a harsh tone. He says, do you turn away from my lords? Do you turn away from my gods? If we were to use the term lords in the sense of God. If you do not leave me, I shall stone you to death. Or you abandon me. I give you only two options. Abandon me or I stone you to death. What does Ibrahim here say? Ibrahim does not tell him, go away, you're a kafir. Ibrahim does not start yelling and raise his voice the way that some of our brothers do. Ibrahim says, I shall pray for you. My Lord has been good to me. May I not be arrogant in my prayer. I ask Allah that I be humbled in my prayer. And he leaves him. However, he does not cut his ties with him. Nonetheless, Al-Imam Salawatullah wa salam alayhi translates this hadith. This hadith where the Prophet says that the best thing in religion is to worship Allah and being dutiful unto your family and your nearest of kin, your parents and your nearest of kin. The concept of silatul rahim, of reaching your nearest of kin and disassociating with your nearest of kin, has multiple worldly effects and hereafter effects. There are certain actions in our life that Allah has placed punishments for in this world before the hereafter, and rewards for in this world before the hereafter. And these take effect upon the Muslim, the non-Muslim, the believer, the non-believer, the atheist, those that believe in Allah's existence, those that say he doesn't exist, regardless. These are the laws of the world we live in, the spiritual laws of the world we live in. If you do this, this would be the effect. Excuse me. The first of these is the increase in wealth. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi, in the narration that's attributed to the Prophet, he says, reaching your next of kin increases your life and removes poverty from your life. So the first part we said is removing poverty, and let's add to it, lengthen one's life. Because all of these ahadith, when we narrate them, we see that they associate two things with one another, wealth and life. Because indeed, a long life without wealth is a tough one. And a wealthy life and wealth without long life is also a tough one. The second part, as we said, is lengthening your life. The Prophet says there are those who might be corrupt and not pious. Focus on this, brothers and sisters. However, they do silatul rahim. They communicate, they stay in touch, they reach their nearest of kin, which results in a longer lifespan for these individuals and greater wealth while they are corrupt. The Prophet here reminds the brothers and sisters who are listening. He says they might be corrupt, but because of this action, this action results in they having longer lives and greater wealth span. Then he says, remember, these are corrupt individuals. These are not mu'mineen. Then he says, imagine if they were believers, if they were pious individuals. We have a very well-known narration, a hadith Qudsi. The gist of it says that this world belongs to Allah. However, this world is called dunya because it is adna al-awalim. It is the least, the smallest, the most minuscule of existence. And it does not equal to Allah as much as the wings of a fly. Imagine how significant is a wing of a fly to you on your day-to-day. This world is not worthy, is nothing in Allah, to what Allah has stored for the believers. It is in fact as significant to what He has for us, for the believers, as much as a fly. It's that insignificant, the wings of a fly, not even the fly, the wings of a fly. And had it been any more significant than that, He would not allow those who blaspheme to drink one cup of water, one sip of water. However, in this world, Allah gives the believer and non-believer the same so that they be judged in the hereafter. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, he speaks to one of his companions by the name of Nawf. He says, Ya Nawf, reach your next of kin. Allah will lengthen your life. The Prophet also said, an individual would reach their next of kin and they might only have three years left. As a result, Allah will expand their lifetime to 30 years. The third part is that reaching your next of kin pushes away tragedies from your life. Imam al-Baqir says reaching your next of kin reduces tragedies within your life. Those are the effects of this world. However, what about the hereafter? The Prophet narrates, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, fear Allah, oh brothers and sisters, fear Allah. Surah Al-Hajj, the Quran says, Ya ayyuhan nasu taqu rabbakum. O people, Here Allah doesn't speak to the believers. Here Allah speaks to all of mankind. He says, Ya ayyuhan nasu ttaqu rabbakum, O people, have piety, fear your Lord. Inna zalzalata as-sa'ati shay'un, inna zalzalata as-sa'ati shay'un 'azim. Indeed, the moment of rapture is a great moment. It's a grandeur effect. يوم ترونها تذهل كل مرضعة عما أرضعت. The day where you see every woman who's breastfeeding drop her child. وتضع كل ذات حمل حملها. And the shock is so great, the event is so great, it causes women to miscarry. وترى الناس سكارى. And you see people are drunk. وما هم بسكارى. In actuality, they are not drunk. However, Allah's torment is great. وَلَكِنَّ عَذَابَ اللَّهِ شَدِيدٌ. I ask Allah to refrain us from His adab. The Prophet says, O people, fear Allah and reach your nearest of kin, for it will lengthen your life and it will be better for you in the hereafter. In the hereafter, when all you want to do is save yourself, when everybody calls for myself, Allah tells you to reach your next of kin. Be good to your parents, to your family, to your cousins, to your nephews, to your nieces, to everybody around you, to those your family, even if they're bad to you. One of the events that it reduces is the pain of dying. Indeed, we see some individuals that pass away very peacefully, while other individuals pass away in torment. It's as if their spirit, their soul is being torn apart from their body. Imam al-Hadi narrates, alayhi salam, he says one of his conversation story where Allah is speaking to Moses. So the Imam is narrating this hadith between God and Moses, where Moses asks, what is the reward of he who reaches their nearest of kin? Allah answers Moses, I shall lengthen their life and reduce sakaratul maut, reduce the pains of death. Not only that, brothers and sisters, it reduces the questioning duration. The duration where you stand in front of Allah and you are to be questioned, this reduces it. In the same lecture that we are explaining right now, the first thing that the Prophet ﷺ, he says, be good, for this would allow you to pass quickly over the sirat. Here, this action reduces your questioning. It reduces the question. The Prophet says, reach your nearest of kin. Reach your nearest of kin shall reduce your questioning time. Remember, as we said in a previous episode, في يوم كان مقداره 50,000 سنة مما تعدون. On a day where each one day is equivalent to 50,000 years of what you count on earth. As for those who deliberately sever the bonds between them and their nearest of kin. Brothers and sisters, I'm not going to be shy. I'm not going to hide it. There are some of us who deliberately sever our connection with our nearest of kin. Why? Oh, he's jealous of me. He's not nice to me. Oh, every time I call him, he asks me for money. Oh, you know what? Me and my cousin, she's always backbiting. She's always talking about me. All of that is irrelevant. Imagine when this individual has a tragedy or if this individual passes away, would you not mourn for them? Put that in front of you and call this individual. Wish them a Ramadan Kareem. As for those who sever their connection to these individuals, when it comes to your family, know for a fact, when it comes to your parents, that you will have damnation and hardship throughout your life. Throughout your life, especially if your mother and your father do not make dua for you. And I have said this in a previous episode. I myself have found this. I myself have seen this. In order for you to be successful, if you want to be successful, be good to your parents. It's not very difficult. All you need to say is Assalamu alaikum baba, shlonak baba. That's it. What do you think your parents want of you? Do you truly think your parents want to harm you? They want to stop you from having fun? In fact, I would urge you to go into your room and to see how many things you bought for yourself and how many things your father supplied for you or assist you in buying. In the narration, the Imam says everything good on you. One of the duties, one of the obligations that you must recognize is everything good in you started with your father. Everything good in you. You're going to say, but I became a doctor. I'm a doctor. My father is a simple barber. You are a doctor because your father was a barber. In fact, compare yourself to all the brothers and sisters who live in foster care and measure the difference, measure the blessings that you have. I ask Allah بحق الحسين الوجيه وجده وأبيه وأمه وأخيه that He might guide us to the right path so that we remain on the right path and that we might have our blessings from the acceptance of our parents, inshallah. Brothers and sisters, mothers and my mothers, my fathers, it needs not be said. Keep your parents, keep your children in your dua. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, the prayer of a mother is accepted in regards to her child. No ifs or buts, it's automatically accepted. And likewise, my brothers, my sisters, my sons, my daughters, keep your father and your mother in your dua. For when you pray for them, Allah shall see that and in turn shall reward you folds over because you are being dutiful to your parents for no other reason than to be dutiful onto your parents. والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أحسنتم. طيب غفاسكم شيخ خالد. بارك الله فيك.
Maulana, I just wanted to say one quick thing. Brothers and sisters, please don't hesitate to message us. Send us your messages, send us your questions. They do not have to be about this lecture. They do not have to be about Ramadan. Any questions in general, give us some suggestions. If you guys want a specific topic for us to talk about, by all means. I was speaking to our brother Ja'far, and we were saying that we wanted to dedicate one day for open dialogue. We don't have to have lectures. We can have dialogues. Let's see what works for you guys, and let's work on that for you guys.
Inshallah, and inshallah, starting from tomorrow, Mustafa Jum'ah is gonna be hosting this program. And if you have any question or discuss about it, and maybe Sheikhni can give them some about Ramadan, Ahkam Ramadan, once every day. Maybe it's helpful.
Yeah, definitely. You know what? Why don't we leave it up to them? Why don't they message us about the Ahkam they want to know about? Okay? If they can't come up with anything, then I'll throw something in the works.
Yeah, so guys, write something. What you want to know about Ramadan, about the fasting, about Ahkam, about anything you want, can discuss with you. Inshallah. Thank you. You missed yesterday, Sheikh. He was give his speech from Imam Hussein in Karbala, and he makes ziyarah for everyone. Inshallah, thank you, Sheikh Khalid, for
your service. You guys want to repeat it? You guys want? What I was thinking is, if you guys are interested, what we can do is we can get a half an hour before the lecture. We can go to Karbala and we can actually do Ziyarat Ashura, for example, from inside the Darayh of Amir al-Mu'mineen. If you guys are interested, we can definitely do that.
Inshallah, you discuss with them the days coming, and you decide, inshallah. Thank you so much. And inshallah, guys, see you, if you like, after Iftar, inshallah, 9 o'clock in Arabic program. شكرا جزيلا.
إن شاء الله تقبل الله صيامكم وقيامكم إن شاء الله.
شكرا شيخ.
هلا بك. إذاعة